began as a no rabbit holes in sight Saturday afternoon in Riker. A final item for a skiing trip I'd never get to take. An unfamiliar cut through the quiet side of town to slip the bustle. Then came the scream, carried on wings of adrenal edge, lurid as a pulp anthology, and utterly genuine. I wanted to walk, keep moving, pretend I hadn't seen. I couldn't. I still don't know why. Maybe sympathy, maybe contempt for the hood's world of cheap violence. Blood thundering, hand balling to a fist, not empty but gripping something pliant, textured, something unconsciously removed from its wrapping. Something bought for a skiing trip I'd never get to take. Wool-catching stubble, stifling breath that was already hard to come by, as someone else's hand tugged the mask down over my face. I'm not going to lie, tell you how calm and ready I was, because I'd also have to warn against believing the words of masked strangers.
Vigilantes is a turn-based tactical role-playing game. You have a base where you can upgrade your facilities, level up your men and upgrade your weapons, and you have an overhead map where you can send out your men to fight turn-based battles. Chances are that you have most likely heard about this concept before, and Vigilantes is in most regards a very traditional turn-based tactical role-playing game. You play as the predefined character Sam, who lives in the town of Riker, which has been overrun by 3 violent gangs. So you have the mafia, you have the psychotic military, and you have the religious lunatics. And Sam decides to do something about this, along with 6 other vigilantes. The story provides some nice atmosphere, but it won't win any awards. You have some character interaction, but your side characters don't get a lot of screen time, and the enemies in particular are really underdeveloped. The flow of this game is that you have a map of the city, divided into separate zones, occupied by the different gangs. And by investigating and attacking the different zones, you learn more about the gangs and where you can find their leaders, and then you get a chance to try to take them out. It's an alright gameplay loop, but the city isn't that interesting, and their overhead map in particular is a bit dull. There are some special events and missions which will be triggered randomly, but the normal missions can be a bit repetitive, and it will put some people off. You have a base as well, with some different facilities that you can upgrade. It's fun, but it's pretty lightweight stuff. What is a bit more fun, however, are all the different weapons and upgrades and crafting in your base. So there are a ton of weapons, and you can upgrade them all. And it really benefits the game that you have a reason to gather all of this material and money to upgrade your weapons to the next level. The characters may all be predefined, but you can still level them up and customize them. And it's pretty fun, and you have a fair number of different skills, attributes and perks that you can choose between. I would like to have some more interesting active abilities, however. All in all, I found this part of the game decent enough, and the nice progression compensates for the dull map. A final comment before I get into the combat is that the music is actually surprisingly good. I usually don't pay attention to the music that much, but I found myself really liking some of the tunes in this game. Finally, we get to the combat. I started off not really liking it, but as I got more weapons and my heroes got more distinct, I ended up enjoying it a whole bunch more. With that being said, the combat is competent, but it's not something special. The enemies are not that varied, and most combat areas feel pretty similar. Some cool interior combat areas, along with some more distinct enemy types, would really have improved the combat. Some specific complaints are that the camera only focuses on the active character and not the targeted character, so sometimes it's hard to see what the result is of the actions. Another thing is that only shotguns have an area of effect skill, so all other weapons can only damage one character, and you won't have any stray bullets. Line of sight can sometimes be a bit hard to understand, and you have some boss fights where you just have so many enemies that it becomes a bit of a mess. Now, don't get me wrong, I like the combat, but it was not something special compared to its competitors, and I don't want to oversell it. And some of the normal fights got a bit repetitive. I should also briefly mention the visuals. I found them charming enough, but they certainly can't compete with the other big games in the same genre. But all in all, I had a good time with Vigilantes. It took me around 17 hours to complete the game, and I would recommend the game to people who have an interest in the genre. I don't think it's anything special, but it is a charming game, and I think it makes up for its other shortcomings.